Hey there, I'm Sean C. Davis. I'm going to show you how to write some cool code. All right, here's the situation. We have a series of buttons that you can see in the preview window on the right. On the left, I've got my super simple Next.js application. I'm listing my 3 buttons on this page. That's all that's really happening, and I have this button component. Now, I'm using TypeScript, but don't really worry about it. If you don't know TypeScript, it's going to help us here, and I'll help you along the way. But what we want to do, we can see that we have these 3 buttons. One is called green button, one purple button, one outline button. However, they are all green. So we need to add some styling here. Now, I've seen folks do a lot of different things to be able to accomplish this. One is you could simply expose the class name property and let every instance of every button write its own class names. That's generally a bad idea. You're going to end up with a lot of duplicated code, lots of mistakes, way too much to test. So, another thing I've seen folks do is use some sort of property to indicate a series of classes that can be used on the button. And that is what we're going to do. And we'll call our property theme. So let's do that. And what I'm doing here is I'm using TypeScript to basically just define the values that are allowed for the theme property. So I'm going to say this can be green or purple, or if I can type, outline. And you probably want this to be more elaborate. That's okay. We're keeping this simple for demonstration purposes. And now we can see that I have invalid code on my page, and that's because I haven't passed a theme. So what we would usually do is first we can say, well, we should have a default property for theme. So we can kind of change our structure here and write children and theme and give theme a default value of green. And then we'll change our props. And there we go. And everything is good, valid, except that we need to make theme optional. So let's go ahead and do that. Great. Now everything, all the code we had it's still valid because we don't need theme. But what we want to do is in our purple button, we want to be able to say theme purple. And if we do that, we want the button to, of course, be purple. Now, what a lot of folks do, especially when you get to the case where you only have 1 or 2 things that can happen, is we're going to use the ternary operator. That is it's a common pattern, and it can be really helpful when you only have 2 choices to choose from. So we might say, we might have a variable called classes. So maybe we'll just be more specific and call them theme classes. And we can say, well, is the theme, so theme, is it green? And if so, let's pick out all of the text or all of the class names that will apply. And we're going to put them here. The hover, it should just be colors in this case. And yep, I have a syntax there. And we say, or what are the purple colors? So we could say background purple 500, text white. I know that's duplicated, but generally it's a color. It might change with different themes, so let's just leave it. And then hover will make the purple a little darker, just like we did with the green. Now we should be valid and we see it come back. We of course lost all our colors because I took all of those classes out. So let's change our markup here. And what I'm going to do is then put in here my classes. Oh, you're right. I called it theme classes. There we go. And I have a purple button. It works fine. The code is relatively clean. Not a big deal, right? Seems totally reasonable. However, now I need to add a 3rd theme. And if it's just colors, that's fine. But in this case, we want it to be an outline. Now, regardless of what it is, the common pattern, let's first put our theme in here as outline. So now if this happens, what are we going to see here? Well, we actually turned the button purple. Why did that happen? It's because theme classes was giving us an if or else statement. If the theme is green, great, give me these classes. If not, give me these classes. Okay, And by the way, I haven't mentioned, but I'm using Tailwind just for really quick styling and demonstration purposes here. If you know Tailwind, you probably already picked that up. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. I could theoretically expand this ternary operator and nest another one in there. So I could say, first of all, we're now going to have to, I think just to be consistent here, is we'll add a border and then we'll add a border color here. Ooh, yeah. Border emerald. Otherwise, our size will change. And border. Okay. And then, yep, because you can see a little bit here that we do have a border around the purple. So let's add that border purple 500 and then hover border purple 600. So now we don't really notice that we have a border, but we have one, so that when we have an outline, it should show up. And we'll just use some gray color for our outline button. Okay, so we could say, if it's green, we do this. Otherwise, which is this colon here, we can say, does theme equal purple? Then we do that. Or we do border, maybe, yep, slate 800, text slate 800. And on hover, we'll change our border to, yeah, 900. Sure. I'm flying blind here. Let's see what happens. Okay, it works. Oh, actually, one more thing. Hover text white. Okay, it works. I mean, this is fine. Can you read this code? No, this is terrible. Don't do this. Don't do this. The nested ternary is probably one of the most difficult things to read, that comes packed with probably some of the simplest logic there is. The code is so hard to parse. And it's this nested if statement, but there's not actually any ifs in there. There are no curly brackets. It's just, it boggles my mind every time. I am going to give you a way to do this so much faster and so much cleaner. What we can do is we can define a theme class map, and we can use the theme property to just pull that content in dynamically and much cleaner. And so what we'll do is we can be outside the component as well, which is very cool because it's just a constant that we define. Is we can call this theme map. It doesn't really matter what we call this. And what we'll do is we're going to use some TypeScript here, and this is where TypeScript can get really powerful and really help you out to make sure that you've got all the pieces in place. Now, if you don't know TypeScript, this is going to look a little weird, but I'll explain what I'm doing. I'm saying, okay, for my key, and first of all, we're expecting an object here, and we're looking for a dynamic key string that is going to be in the button props theme property, which basically means the key has to be one of green, purple, or outline. And then the value in each property should be a string. But one other thing we have to do here, get a little fancy, is because theme is optional, we have to tell it that we don't want null or undefined. And now we have an error because we haven't defined our three properties as green, purple, and outline. So let's do that. So we basically can do green, and then we'll take our green classes down here, purple, and notice that I'm using VS Code. I get nice autocomplete. This is amazing. And we say, what's left? Outline. Great. Don't need that. And outline here. Let's get rid of all this nonsense. And then we can save that. Now we have an issue because I don't have theme classes defined anymore. But here's what we can do. I don't even need a variable in here. I can instead come down, and where I was using theme classes, I can basically just say theme map and then pass it the theme value. And I know that value is going to be there because I've defined a default, and TypeScript is going to make sure that it's there. It's the default is green. Otherwise, another page or component that's using a button has to define one of these properties. So I save that, and now I have these styles, but it's so much easier to read and see. And if I were to add another theme, this is where it gets really powerful. I say, well, what if I want a pink button? Great, I have a pink button, but now I have not added any styles. I haven't added my theme property for the styles to this theme map, which would then make the styles appear in the button. So TypeScript is really helping us in this case, but you can also see how the code is just so much cleaner because we can not infinitely scale this, but we can add a number of additional themes and still keep our code relatively clean. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave your questions, comments, videos you want to see next in the comments section below, and I'll see you next time.